Hello and greetings. This is Ermina, also known as Reverend Tutu, Priestess Tutu, and a whole other bunch of tutus. Welcome to one of my informational videos, and this is a video on the adult student. I have been contemplating doing a video like this for a long time. Initially, it was going to be about, actually, I do think somewhere on my video list, there's a video about etiquette of a student in when participating in a spiritual event and so on. But that one was specifically guided to support those participating in let's say, a non-traditional, when I say traditional, but a system that I'm familiar with. And it was just give some basic guidelines. Here's what you need to do. And that's in there, I believe. I don't know because I can't remember right now, but I think it's in there. If not, I'll probably end up doing one, or at least having a pamphlet out for people, because part of my role is to just help people have some basic information so that they can move through these processes with a little bit more ease. Now, don't expect, I was talking to someone, one of my mentors, about this, and one of the things he said was, it's not going to make a difference during this video. People are going to show up however they show up. So I'm well aware that people will show up however they show up. What this video is designed to do is to maybe help some of you reflect, gain additional information which may not be readily available online. And it also, for me, a lot of what I do is to have a repository of information, because at some point I just want to get it out of my head. I don't want to keep talking about it. And this is also something that may end up in my book, not Biospit Reality, but Architect. And this is a place for me to put it so that I kind of have it down somewhere, probably write an article and put that in Patreon as well. So I trust you will enjoy this. There's really, anything I say is not going to be something you don't know, but it may remind you of something that you know, but you may have been forgetting. And I'm serious when I put my glasses on, because I got to read some really small handwriting again. So spiritual education, for the most part, is remedial. Okay, that's the first thing for adults. Why is it remedial? Why is it a remedy? Which is really what that means, right? Why is spiritual education for an adult a problem solver or a remedy rather than what we should all be going through? For the most part, because there's some people who never got any kind of education. For the most part, it's remedial because spiritual education is foundational. It's supposed to be foundational, which means it was supposed to be, or is, what sets your various system mindsets, different sets of your mind, or chakras, let's say. Let's use that as an example. That's a good one. To set those wheels in a particular rhythm to align with your soul's purpose and your spirit and your missions by the time you're 7, to have some of those basics, the foundational, not know what you're talking about, but just have the foundationals set. Somewhere around 21 years old, you've had some practice, you've made a lot of mistakes, and then you better understand, and of course your brain is still finally forming and making some concrete links between your foundations and some of your life experiences. And by the time you're in your 30s, you keep building on this knowledge that you gained in your youth, the spiritual knowledge you gain and training you gain in your youth, training as a kid and an education as you got older. And any additional knowledge that you gained was to expand and maybe adapt and help you grow through various life cycles, not to start all over again. But there are times people kind of go, that's not me. What I got didn't work. It's not working. It's not what I want to do. I'm being guided towards something else. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. And this is very common if you are of, let's say, an indigenous culture where your power was supplanted through colonization or some other means of supplanting power using spirituality. And it doesn't have to be just people of indigenous backgrounds. It could be anybody that was stripped from their indigenous way or their natural way of being. then there's this sort of sense I gotta make some changes, I gotta make some changes as you get older and so on. But the remedial process of re-educating yourself is not the same as when you were a child. When you were a child, you were a brain with nothing in it, literally, except for some ancestral codes in DNA, some generational DNAs and spiritual coding that could be molded and shaped to help you do what you came here to do. By the time you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on, a lot of those things are already formed. You have your mind set. Okay, so remedial means breaking down those settings and resetting them. That's really what that means. Second thing, once you are 21-ish, spiritual education is really for the purpose of re-education, unless you're set in your whatever it is that you're doing is what you want to be doing, and in that case, it's there for your evolution of what you already know, which is a beautiful thing. Anybody who's out there who loves what the spiritual training that they got, and they really feel it's who and what they are, and it settles with them really well, stay where you are. There's nothing that says you need to leave something that's working for you. I know I'll stop there. And I'm not saying to stay there if that's not working for you. If you're getting the messages that no, this never felt right, this doesn't feel right, this is not for me, I need to. Okay, so you get my point. So reschooling is okay, but it presents its unique challenges. When the purpose of something is to undo what's already done, there is a deconstructive aspect that has to happen. So whatever was already set, it's like a cake, or you bake something, you make something, and all of a sudden you're like, it's not good, it didn't come out right, and you need to make it again. Well, you can't just take the old cake, crush it up, and say, I'm going to take the eggs out, I'm going to take the milk out from the crushed up cooked cake. I'm going to take all the components that was put in there earlier today, and I'm going to remake the cake. It's already baked. You're already baked. So now you got to start over. You got to get new eggs. You got to get new flour. You got to get new oil or butter, depending on the type of cake you're making. You got to get whatever, and if whatever you missed, you didn't put in there the first time, you got to get that. So there's a whole process of starting over, which can mean deconstructing, which some people are now calling re-education or reconditioning yourself. First of all, I should also say that's never like fun. Although you can make it fun, you can find joy in the experience, but to deconstruct beliefs that are not working for you, and beliefs is the word, not so much knowing. Most people do not deconstruct their knowing, because when they know something, when you know something, you know it. It's usually beliefs that are deconstructed, because beliefs means you know in the absence of actual experience and knowledge. And just like I believe in Santa Claus. Well, somebody told you, well, yeah, Santa Claus is here and so on. And this applies to anything and everything, but we won't go into that because that will open a whole other door in terms of atheism and so on. But which I could go to, because I have friends that are atheists and I have no problem with them, because I know how those different ways of thinking play in the whole, and why, and the importance of them. So back to what I was trying to say, which is adults, as an adult, because you're shaping the world as an adult. Children do not shape the world. It's adults that actually engage in changing things. Children are learning how to shape themselves, really, through good counsel, good parenting, and so on. Adults are the ones who shape the world based on the mind that was set in their early years. Okay? Based on whatever mindset they have in their earlier years, that's how they shape the world. So because their mind is set at an earlier age, without a paradigm shift, and I mean a real paradigm shift, an adult in a spiritual education, re-education class is still trying to operate within the matrix that they picked up by the time they were 21. They're still trying to operate, and the matrix would be, let's say matrix is a square, right? And the word matrix is overused in a negative, and it's not a negative word, but I won't go into that right now. Just recognize that it is a structure, a box, for which things can be changed, altered. Actually, creation does not happen in chaos. It is a pulling out of information through a prism, which creates a spectrum, which is then encapsulated into various forms of uh, um, six systems, whether it's a box, rectangular, triangular. These are how information is coded for it to become a body part, for it to become things in this world. It is coded into some form of a matrix to become a form. Okay, so the matrix is not a bad thing in terms of the word itself. It's when the matrix is being used against some particular group of people or groups of people, that's when we become concerned about that. But what I'm trying to say, I kind of got off here. What I'm trying to say is that your mind is set based on this particular matrix or structure that was developed or implanted into you or unfolded by the time you're 21. And that's why when people have major trauma in their youth, it sets their mind in a particular way. Okay, and they think a particular way. And I say people, I mean me. I have certain fears, I have certain concerns, I have certain things that are based on my conditioning, my box that I can't, that I grew into, or when I was younger. This is everybody, and as we get older, we alter that based on whatever it is that we're being guided to do on this plane. Some of us alter, some of us never alter it. Some of us can't stand the idea of altering ourselves because it chips away too much and it's too difficult and it's too hard. And then what we have to then learn how to do is to live with the knowing we already have. And for some people, that may be all you can do, is to just learn to live with the knowledge you already have, and really make that the best thing that it can be for you at this time, and recognize that that's where you are. But I don't want to get too far. The other one is, in other words, I wanted to say is adjustments are made, but your deep set training from your youth remain. But it takes time to get to all of these different layers to deconstruct, really is the word, and reconstruct. Often it's deconstructing and reconstructing as you're doing this, okay? So what does this mean? Does it mean that adults don't need to learn? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm trying to say. As a matter of fact, it means you are learning as an adult, but your foundation is usually set by the time you're young. That's what that means. They're set. Your mind is set by the time you're 7, and then it really is crystallized. For some people, it's crystallized earlier than that, before 7. You know, something traumatic can crystallize your mindset about certain things. But overall, it's pretty much crystallized by a certain age. As an adult, you can do the remedial process, but you got to understand. I say you have to understand. We need to understand, and I already do, but we need to understand that the remedial process is a process of alteration, what's already been set. And by the way, alterations, ALTER, is the physical representation of alteration, ALTAR, of your psyche. So when you work with an alter, ALTAR, you're altering your subconscious mind and other aspects of and other forces that work within our natural system. So yes, we teach adults because adults can still apply remedial steps. There are certain times in your life where these changes are demanded of you. Usually people call them midlife crises, puberty changes. Different aspects of different times demand different adjustments so that you can be better aligned or more in alignment with the harmony of your creation, right? So they mean chipping away at things that weren't supposed to be there and adding things that are supposed to be there. And that's the process that you undergo, which involves actual discomfort and change because you're altering what's already been set, okay? Because adulthood was designed to be building on what you already know, not tearing down and rebuilding, it doesn't feel that great oftentimes because you're not just making adjustments to your house now. You're literally, some people may have to completely just take away the house that was built or the tree that was planted and dig up the roots, clean the roots, look at the roots, replant a whole other tree, rebake the cake, or rebuild the house. There's 1,000 different ways I could say this, but you get my point. Some people want to really find a way to keep the same old stuff, but make it look nice and pretty, put a bow on it. I have not seen that work ever. And so rather than talk about why, I'm just going to say that's just common sense. Yes? Yeah, it's just common sense. It doesn't work. What ends up happening, it looks like a graph, and or it can be a mutation of some sort, but it's not a good idea. Yeah. So what do you need to do to be a good adult student? And I'm using the word good. What I really should say is a correct one for you. Okay, what do you need to do? There are many, many things we can do to make the process of learning as an adult a little bit easier. I'm the perfect person to talk about this because I have some other qualities in here, but there's a couple I don't have. And they've made my some parts of my life really difficult. So this is advice, again, from somebody who has experienced many different things, sharing with you, so maybe you can benefit from my life experience and other people's experiences, because what I'm about to share is you're going to recognize. Okay, number one, have an open mind. Well, we just talked about their mind being set. So imagine your mind is set with 4 walls. I can't do 4 walls. It's a box, right? I'm going to use this as an example. Imagine this is your mind. It's a box, right? All these walls contain whatever preconceived notions and social conditionings and things that's supposed to be shoulda, coulda, wouldas are in here. If the top isn't open, there's very little that can go in there to make any kind of alteration, okay, or bottom or the sides. So you got to have an open mind for things to actually change, period. And I come across people who really have a difficult time with that. It's like they have an open mind, but they want to keep the mind open to get what they want to get in. It's almost as if the way they want to learn is by learning using the same mind that I want to use the same mind that got me where I am to learn something new. That doesn't work very well because, you've heard the saying that you have to you can't solve the same problem using the same things that got you into the problem, right? You've heard this before, I'm sure. So you have to have an open mind. The second thing is active listening, or to embrace silence. So many years ago, I want to say 10, maybe longer, I've always felt like active listening was really important in my life. I didn't know why, but I've always there was something that I just wanted to learn it and I wanted to practice it. So I did. I took a course. I got certified to be a teacher to teach people active listening skills. Okay, and you can Google that and you'll see what comes up. Active listening skills is a skill that everybody should learn while they're young, but obviously not in the same way. It has to be more fun when you're younger, right? But everybody should have mastered by the time they're in their 20s, because it is really foundational to be able to have decent communication with each other. You can usually tell somebody who doesn't know anything about active listening skills in communication because of the way they're always in conflict with anybody that they try to talk to. There's always conflict. If there's always conflict, it usually means they can't hear. Actually, that's not true. They can hear. They can't listen. Okay? And if you can't listen, you could have all the right teachers, you can have all the right opportunities, but you will miss just about everything that comes your way. So I took this course, and part of the requirements of taking the course and become certified was to actually practice it at work, to practice it, and then I think it was 8 weeks afterwards you had to keep doing things, and then you had to teach it. So I got a lot of practice in it. Now, am I excellent at it? No. I don't know anybody no, I do know some people who are really, really, I know one person who's excellent at it. Excellent. And I sort of look to him to remind me where I can get to over time. Am I good? I'm very good. Am I excellent? I got work. I can keep getting better. I can keep aiming for this particular individual, his level and where he's at, and get to that point. Know where you are on it, and don't judge yourself if you're suck at it. We all start somewhere. If you have difficulty listening to people without thinking about your response, it means you're not listening. And if you're not listening, you're missing most of what they're telling you. They can say an entire sentence and you may have picked up, listened to one word. And then when you regurgitate what you think they said, you're way off. Your perspective is completely false because you didn't hear them. You didn't listen with your ears. And so active listening is huge as an adult teacher, adult student. And one of the reasons it's important, I will cover in a minute, has to do with the fact that you have to self-direct your own learning as an adult. So if you're not listening, you're teaching yourself wrong. Because as an adult student, you're actually teaching yourself. So if you're not listening, you are teaching yourself. That's why when somebody says to me they've had horrible teachers, this teacher was bad, I kind of go, okay, that means you're telling me how much of you sucks in terms of your own ability to teach yourself. Seriously, because as an adult, we're self-directed, and if we're listening, we'll learn so much more. You cannot solve the problems with the same mindset that you have. You just can't. You know that one. As an adult, you also have baggage. Children don't have baggage. Well, depending on the age, right? And also karmic and prenatal stuff. But overall, they don't have life baggage, right? That they're carrying around. Because you have baggage, these baggages become your filters. So they're the filter in which information comes through to you. So let's say you have a baggage, or I'll give myself as an example. Let's say I have a baggage about being, I'm from Haiti, so I have a diaspora baggage. That's a big one. I have a diaspora baggage, which is I'm from the diaspora and I see things very differently than somebody in Haiti because it's a different environment, right? So I filter information through my diaspora baggage. So when I see things from my life experience as somebody who came here in my teens, somebody who studied, uh, you know, English, somebody who went back home and was treated a little bit differently than the people who actually live there. I mean, I have all this baggage, right? And that baggage doesn't mean bad. Some of it's cute. This is a nice leather baggage that I have. And I process the information through that baggage, but it also means that I'm seeing things differently. So the knowledge I'm gaining is going to be from a different perspective. Recognize your baggage alters what you're actually picking up from your teacher. So in a classroom of 10 people, each person, based on their baggage, will get something different, right? And not bad or good, but how different is yours? And what kind of baggage do you have? I just gave an example of one that's not so bad. There's some that really restrict how much information we get in that can benefit us. Our ancestors, guides, teachers have already been teaching us whatever it is that you're trying to get from that teacher. There's nothing that's coming up that they haven't been trying to teach you forever. And that's the bad news. By the time you get to certain types of teachers, there are certain different levels of teachers, you'll know if you have been listening, or in other words, you've been picking up the information, or it's 100% remedial. You gotta start all over again. You should know by now. Take baby steps and be patient with yourself, okay? I mean, let's say you're 30 years old. I mean, you've got 30 years of stuff that you've been learning, and now you're in the process trying to do something different, okay? You gotta have to be patient and take steps that are comfortable for you. And I say comfortable, I have to be careful because when I use that word comfort, people automatically means easy. No, I don't mean that kind of comfort. There's always going to be discomfort in learning something new. Always. It's just part of the growth process. But I just mean in terms of like, don't jump into an ocean if you don't know how to swim. Okay? Get a boat. Or learn how to swim and then jump in the ocean. Okay. My examples are not always really cool, but I do my best. Anyway. Start where you are. You cannot make up 25, 30, 10, 15, 100, whatever years in a half a day work or a certification. A 1 week certification, 2 week certification, a year certification. Okay, cannot, and I'm going to talk about some stuff which will help you understand that as well. There's a sense of urgency and rush that happens when we are really, quote unquote, feeling behind in our evolution, and we feel I've been there. I gotta get this. I gotta do that. And if knowing what I know now, I would have just been, okay, step one, let's do that and get that You know, step two, I'd be tangoing into it rather than some wild crazy dance. Okay, so difference experience. All right, I think I'm gonna have to make a second video because there's some noise coming near the room which is gonna interrupt. And the last thing I'm gonna say is, if you're blaming your teacher, your mentor, your doctor, your priest, everybody else, so that's a sign that the maturity that's required for being a good student is not there because you're not taking full responsibility. Okay, that's really super important. No one else is responsible for your knowledge as an adult but you. And that's a tough one. It can be a really tough one. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to do part two, which covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that would be useful to know as an adult student. Thanks for watching.